just roll with it and base that off the chemistry you have with your opponent?
It depends on who I'm working with. If I'm working with somebody who has a lot of experience and who is comfortable in there, and hopefully I'd be a little familiar with their work or something, then it's fun to go in there and just, for lack of a better phrase, just play around a little bit, kind of feel each other out. Because if you are comfortable in what you're doing and you have confidence in it, it's gonna come across in your match. And so you get two guys in the ring who are extremely confident in their own abilities and who are good at listening to each other, then it's fun to go out there and just feel it out. If I'm with somebody who I've never met before, never worked, we may talk a little bit more prior to the match than I would otherwise. But it's and again, kind of going back to what you said about being a face or a heel, they're both fun in their own ways, because if you're going over something, you can take a little bit of time and plan little details and really paint the picture that, really take the time to describe in detail the story that you want to tell. But it's a completely different feeling altogether when those details just come out on the spot, and it's a whole lot of fun to see how that story materializes when you're going on the fly.
Absolutely, and wrestling is ultimately about telling a story in the ring, and that's why you get guys like CM Punk, Kurt Angle. These are some of the best guys out there because of their ability to tell a story, and I think those who understand that are the ones who portray it the best. Ultimately.
I agree. And that's why I think CM Punk is one of the best on the WWE roster today, if not the best, because he doesn't do anything too fancy. I mean, the go to sleep isn't that flashy. His elbow off the top isn't the most graceful, but you look at his face when he, gives the guy a knee in the corner, or when he's got somebody in a fireman's carry before he gives him that knee to the face. It's those little details that pop out that just make me want to watch everything this guy does.
Right. Absolutely. So we get down the line here. We get maybe about exactly a year ago, I'd say, close to a year ago, yeah. WWE announces they're going to do another Tough Enough competition. It's been a while since they've done it. You're involved in the Indies. You mentioned All Pro Wrestling. What makes you decide to try out?
Because I figured, why not me?
Very true.
I saw it pop up that they were bringing it back, and I heard about it actually on Facebook from one of my friends in the business, and I just figured, somebody has to be on that show. I think it should be me, and I'm going to make a video, explaining why I think it should be me. And I felt like I had as good a chance as anybody else did. And when I remember going to the post office to mail it and just thinking, this is like throwing a snowball in hell. Like thousands of people are probably trying out for this, and this is literally the shot of the dream of at least my lifetime, and a lot of guys that I've spent years going up and down the roads with. So I kind of remember thinking as I drop it in, just like, all right, let's see what happens. I mean, the worst that could happen is that I don't hear back. But there's no shame in trying and failing, and I knew the odds were against me. But if I just went like, I probably wouldn't make it on there anyway, then I couldn't, I wouldn't live with that because I wouldn't know.
Right. Yeah.
There's no way I could know.
Absolutely, and you end up getting picked. What's it like? Forget about even just it being tough enough. In general, what's it like being on a reality show? I think that's a question a lot of people wonder about.
Yeah. To sum it up in one word, it's exhausting. Because every second you're awake, and even when you're asleep, there are cameras on you and in places that you didn't even know they were there. And just the thought that everybody's watching everything you do and listening to everything you do is, it's hard to put it into words. It's like you're being interrogated in like that lonely room, and there's that one big spotlight on you the whole time.
It's like the scene from The Dark Knight with Batman and Joker.
Exactly. Yeah, the lights come on, and you're just like, oh God, like what am I in for? And there were moments I literally remember waking up in the morning and just seeing a camera there, and just like wanting to roll over and curl into a ball and disappear, and just like, I just want to go to sleep without having somebody watch me. It's very exhausting to know somebody's watching you every second of the day and night.
Now, how often is it that the eliminations actually took place? Because, they air it weekly. How often in between were each eliminations? How many days?
A week The show is shown every week, and it would be 1 day of training, which would last anywhere from 6 to 8 hours a day, on training day.
Yeah.
The following day would be life lessons, or what I like to call field trips. That's when we did the cheerleading thing.
Cheerleading thing was definitely one of the highlights of the season.
Yeah. They put us in some pretty ridiculous situations, and there were a couple moments where I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? I'm on roller skates trying to serve, trying to serve these guys in a diner, and Bill DeMott's trying to distract me and everything. And then the final day was the skills challenge and the elimination, which would always occur at night, and it was probably it's funny because on the show it comes across as 5 or 6 minutes. The actual process of the whole elimination probably lasted about over an hour. Like just standing in the ring with Steve walking back and forth like a shark that smells blood. And even though he was definitely stone cold when he was doing that elimination, I didn't have any evidence telling me this, but I just knew he was loving it on the inside because we were blindfolded. We were at the mercy of the firing squad, and Steve was just locked and loaded.
So, what's it like staring Stone Cold Steve Austin, arguably one of the most intimidating figures in the history of sports entertainment, straight in the eye?
This phrase is thrown around a lot, but unbelievable. The man is such a presence, and he is so intense. And I remember this didn't make air, but he was staring at me the first night I was there, and he was just staring a hole right through my face. And I just looked at him and I said, he didn't say a thing yet. I just looked at him and I said, "No, sir, I am not eyeballing you." And he looked at me and was like, "What are you, a damn psychic?" And I didn't say anything after that, but I was just like, I got to break the silence because this is freaking killing me right now.
Hey, you got to do anything you can, and you come in as Tumbleweed, which, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they give you that nickname after you're doing the rolls in one of the opening skill challenge?
Yeah, they wanted to see our coordination, and they put us through a bunch of rolls, forward rolls and shoulder rolls, and they ended up calling me Tumbleweed, which I took as a compliment.
It's a compliment, absolutely.
Because it means I was nailing those rolls.
Absolutely.
And God bless Ryan Howe, who got the nickname Skid Marks. I mean, poor guy was done from day one as soon as they gave him that name.
And he still fought. And what was it like with the other trainers? Obviously, one in particular that really strikes me, and you mentioned before, Bill DeMott. This guy is probably one of the most underappreciated performers in the history of wrestling. This is a 300-pound guy who could do moonsaults on command. What's it like working with those guys?
It was exhausting, but it was because we were just learning so much. Bill DeMott is so giving in his approach. He's willing to get hands-on, but at the same time, he's going to test you in ways that you've never been tested before to make him believe that you really want to be there. And that was one of the hardest things about Tough Enough, is that he put us through so much, and a lot of it was unlearning some of the habits that a lot of wrestlers develop over the years and learning it the right way. And in that respect, Jeremiah was actually in a great spot because he didn't have any prior professional wrestling experience. He came from the MMA world, so he was learning the right way the first time. And guys like me and Eric and Martin and Ryan, we all developed these without knowing it. We developed these habits over the years in the indies, and Bill DeMott is like, that's the shits. Like that's not how we do it. If you want to be a WWE, we're not looking for wrestlers. We're looking for WWE superstars, and there's a huge difference. And for us independent wrestlers who are like, we wrestle, we're wrestlers. Learning to do it the way that a WWE superstar is supposed to do it was one of the hardest parts of the show.
And that is something that a lot of people do complain about, how WWE has moved on from being a soul wrestling show to being much more of an extravaganza, an entertainment-based show. And, that's something that I think does, I hate to be so blunt about it, but it does piss a lot of people off. But then at the same time, others pick it up and say, that's the way to do it. And I think that is something that is a debate that really only time will tell how that ends up affecting the professional wrestling business.
Yeah, it's a schism that divides a lot of fans, and it's from a business standpoint. They're trying to appeal to as many people as possible because most people are not hardcore wrestling fans. Most people are not guys that will, fork over $50 or $60 to buy WrestleMania when they're not seeing The Rock or they're not seeing John Cena or, any of those big names that are way up there as far as pop culture is concerned. But, it's if Daniel Bryan, all due respect to him, he'll be inventing a WrestleMania.
Bryan Danielson, let's be honest.
He's Bryan Danielson, yeah. I mean, he's by far one of the best wrestlers in the world, but he just wouldn't sell as many pay-per-views if it wasn't headlined by Rock and Cena.
Right. Yeah, no, that's very true. And coming back to closing up Tough Enough here, you get to the final few people, final 5 if I'm not mistaken, and it comes down to promos. Now, I'm going to admit this to you. I'm thinking here coming into this,